Wow, stories.
My fiancé accuses me of neglecting our relationship. For my twin brother. But when I find out about the affair, I make sure they regret every lie with a surprise visit to their lover's workplace and a very public breakup announcement. I don't know what to do, or even if I want to go through with the wedding. Things were going well for us at first. I have had two brothers, a twin and an older one, 26. Since childhood, we have been really close. Our parents were surprised at how well we got along. Brothers doted on me a lot, and I clung to them like a little sister. We were best friends. Then, when we were 12 or 14, our parents got into an accident and passed away, and we were sent to live with our aunt-uncle. We could tell that they didn't really want us, but since we don't really have any other family, they took us in so we wouldn't be in the system. So we spent most of our teenage years being ignored. We relied on each other for emotional support and working through the shattering grief we were feeling now that our parents and great childhood were gone. As the years went on, things became a little more manageable. We were able to function more. We were still close, but life started happening. We got jobs and all went to college, and that's where I met my fiancé. By then, we had stopped talking to aunt, uncle, and brothers, and I were living together on our own. When it came time to introduce my then boyfriend to my brothers, they all got along well. Brothers were happy for me, and boyfriend knew of how much they meant to me, being my only family left. Now that we're engaged and living together, things are still going well. We were still in the same city, so while things have changed, I still have all my loved ones around. But then, a few months ago, my older brother got in an accident. A drunk driver. I'm crying just writing this. Everyone I love keeps leaving. A few days after it happened, I just wanted to be by my twin. I couldn't stop crying. I was paranoid that something might happen to him too. Whenever I'd come home, I noticed my fiancé growing distant from me. He was there when I needed to talk to him, but he wasn't the same. I tried to ask him, but he would just dismiss it, and I barely had energy to even get through the day at that point. Things are just starting to calm down a bit. But a few days ago, after coming home from eating lunch with my brother, he snapped on me. He told me that I'm not acting like I care about him anymore, and that I care more about my brother than our relationship. I don't see that. I'm there with him every night. We live together. I make sure he has something to eat when he comes home from work. He asked me, "Why couldn't you cry to me instead?" Or, "Why couldn't you ask how I was doing?" I just didn't want to burden him too much. He works a demanding job, and that was our brother, so my twin could understand things he couldn't. I tried to talk to him about this, but we got into a huge argument. We both said some hurtful things, and out of nowhere he asks if I would feel the same way if something bad happened to him. In the heat of the moment, I said, I would be devastated, but not as much as if twin died. His face went white. I regretted saying it, but things were so heated, and I feel as if he won't even try to understand me. Why would he even ask me a question like that? Why can't I go and check up on my twin or want to cry to him sometimes? That was our older brother who died. We have no parents, no other family. I can't handle any more of my family dying. I love my fiancé to death, and I want to make things work. But the love I feel for him has plummeted since then. He's been so cold. We've barely spoken to each other these past few days, and I'm not even sure what I would say, or if I've already done too much damage. Please, what do I do? Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. When my mother-in-law died a few years ago, my wife was devastated. It hurt me to see her hurt, and she started to pull away and rely on her brothers. I tried to give her space. She didn't realize she was pulling away from me. You might think you were there with your fiancé, but in grief, we don't see things clearly at times. He felt you pulling away when you might not have thought so. Perhaps he has never lost anyone and couldn't understand how you are feeling and was lost on how to help you. Fortunately for my wife and me, we didn't have a blow-up over it, but it seems that both of you said some hurtful things. You and your fiancé need to sit down and work through it, or at least try to. Yes, you are grieving, and he should have more emotional maturity, but what you said to him cut him deep, It's understandable with your losses that you would answer that way. But all he heard was that as his future wife, you care more about your twin. So sit down and talk and see if this relationship can be saved. Comment 2. Why couldn't you ask how I was doing? I'm sorry, but what the frick? He expected you to be following him around asking about his feelings when your brother just died? He sounds breathtakingly selfish, honestly. You've been through deep, soul-shattering trauma, and he seems entirely focused on his own feelings. I can understand wanting to be your shoulder, but an empathetic person will also understand that this is a familial loss that echoes your childhood loss, and that you were clinging to your twin because you were terrified of losing the last of your biological family. What you said was cruel, I won't deny that, but it sounds like it came from a place of him being hurtful first, while you're in the throes of unimaginable grief. If you look at the fullness of your relationship outside of this, is he generally a supportive and unselfish person? When difficult things have happened to you in the past, has he shown himself to be a reliable person to lean on? Now, for the update, thanks for sticking with me here. So, after that whole mess with my fiancé, things took a turn for the worse. My twin, he's always been the level-headed one, but he lost his job. Just like that, no warning. He worked at this company for years, and they let him go because of budget cuts. He was devastated, and I was too. It felt like the world was against us. I was trying to be there for him, but my fiancé, he didn't get it. He thought I was babying my twin too much. Said I should let him handle his own problems, but how could I? We've always been there for each other. It's not like we have anyone else to lean on. Then, my twin started hanging out with some old friends from high school. I didn't trust them, never did. They were always trouble. But he said he needed a distraction, something to take his mind off losing his job. I was worried, but what could I do? I had my own problems at home. One night, my twin didn't come home. I was frantic. I called him, texted nothing. My fiancé just rolled his eyes and told me to go to bed. But I couldn't. I stayed up all night waiting. When my twin finally walked through the door the next morning, he looked like he'd been through hell. He wouldn't tell me what happened, but I knew it was bad. Turns out, he got into a fight. A bad one. The police were involved, and he was looking at charges. My heart sank. We couldn't afford a lawyer, not with everything else going on. But somehow the charges got dropped. I don't know how or why, but they did. I was relieved, but it felt like we were just waiting for the next bad thing to happen. And it did. My fiancé, he'd been acting strange, distant. I thought it was because of everything with my twin, but no. He was having an affair with a coworker. I found messages on his phone, and my world just stopped. I confronted him, and he didn't even deny it. Said he felt neglected, that I was always so focused on my twin and not on us. I was furious, heartbroken. I should have left him right then, but I didn't. I couldn't. Despite everything, I still loved him, and I was scared to be alone. My twin was dealing with his own mess, and I didn't want to add to it, so I stayed. I told my fiancé we'd work through it, but things haven't been the same. He's trying to be more attentive, but I can't forget what he did. Now I'm just stuck. I'm trying to support my twin, trying to fix my relationship, and it's all just too much. I don't know if I'm making the right choices, but I'm doing the best I can.